Okay, hello and welcome to the Home and Energy Chats. My name is Heather Chandler, and I am the owner and publisher of Green and Healthy Maine Homes. Each episode, we chat with industry experts to help you learn about creating healthy, efficient, sustainable homes here in Maine and beyond. And today, in advance of Maine's very first Building Science Week, we are excited to dive into some of the many offerings that are available to us in Maine for professional development and training around building science topics. So in just a moment, I'm going to introduce our panelists. But before I do, I would like to say a very special thank you to our annual sponsor of the Home and Energy Chats, Royal River Heat Pumps, a locally owned and operated company that is nationally recognized for heat pump excellence and 100% committed to the highest standards of quality installation, service practices, and customer satisfaction. And you can learn more about them online at royalriverheatpumps.com. And so a little bit about us. Green and Healthy Maine Homes is dedicated to inspiring healthy, efficient, and future-ready homes. In addition to these chats, we also publish a quarterly magazine. You can see some of our covers here. And we produce an annual home and energy show in the spring in South Portland. We've just set the date for that. It's going to be March 28th next year. And we recently launched the Green Home and Design Awards, which are taking place next week in Portland. So you can learn more about all of these things on our website, greenmainehomes.com. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our panelists. Christy Crocker is a regular on the Home and Energy Chats. She has served as the executive director of the Maine Indoor Air Quality Council since 1999, where she manages the council's administrative, education, policy, and communications work for healthy, productive, and environmentally sustainable indoor environments. Prior to her work with the council, Christy served as the continuing legal education director of the Maine State Bar Association for 14 years. She's a graduate of Colby College in Waterville and both lives and works in Hallowell, Maine. Welcome back, Christy.
Thank you, Heather.
And Emily Mottram is also a regular on the Home and Energy Chats. Emily is an architect and principal of Mottram Architecture. She developed an interest in building science and sustainable design in college, where she was inspired to design healthy, durable, and energy efficient homes that are also comfortable and beautiful. She is a building science educator, co-author of The Pretty Good House, a host on the BS and Beer show, and the creator of a monthly podcast, E3, Energy and Efficiency with Emily, focusing on building science, architecture, and female entrepreneurship. Welcome, Emily.
Thanks for having me.
So a side note, both Emily and Christy also serve as advisors to Green and Healthy Maine Homes. So I'm super grateful to have the opportunity to work with them all these years. Next up, we have Erin Scally, who is the training director, excuse me, training director at passivhausMAINE. Erin helps to grow, as the training director at passivhausMAINE, Erin helps to grow Maine's high performance building workforce. She has a background in three-dimensional design, sustainable architecture, and hands-on construction. Erin built on her training at Kennebec Valley Community College to earn her certified Passive House tradesperson credential and works to advance sustainable practices statewide. So excited to have you join us today, Erin.
Thanks, Heather. Happy to be here.
And we also have a cameo from Dori Lam to tell us a little bit about Building Science Week, which is happening next week. Dori is the program director for Passive House Maine, where she coordinates site walks, lectures, webinars, and other educational content. She also develops and designs the program and content for the Passive House Maine annual winter forum, which is happening February 12th through the 14th next year at USM. So excited to have you with us, Dori, and thank you all for being with us today. As a reminder, that if you do have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to enter them using the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen, and we'll have some time to review those at the end of the presentations. So I'm going to start with you, Dori, to tell us a little bit about this awesome Building Science Week.
Yeah, thank you. So, Building Science Week has been a concept in the back of our brains at passivhausMAINE for quite some time. And we're really excited to be able to steward the first iteration of that. So, it's taking place November 2nd through 8th this year, and hopefully every year thereafter, the first week of November. And the intention is that it's a celebration of building science in all its shapes and forms. So we have a big cadre of programming. We've got site tours, we've got webinars, lectures, we've got some hands-on workshops on installation techniques and components. And then we also have some networking and social events. The Green and Healthy Maine Homes Awards event is taking place during Building Science Week, as well as the Nessie 50th anniversary celebration. And so we'll also be launching our new space here in Freeport. There are a wide range of programs and a wide range of formats. And what we're hoping for is that people from all different backgrounds and experience with building science will find something meaningful in that week of programming. So if you want to learn more, we hope you will join us. You can scan the QR code, visit our website, find a program. Most are free or low cost. And I hope to see you at one or all of them if you're very ambitious.
Thank you, Dori. You and Passive House Maine do such a nice job of building collaborations, I think, in the building science community here in Maine. So this is just another great example of that. And I'm happy that you were able to be here to share a little bit about it with us today.
Thank you.
So I'm going to turn it over to you, Christy, to talk about what the Indoor Air Quality Council does in Maine and the training opportunities that you provide.
Thank you very much, Heather. I'm assuming you can all hear me all right. All right, amazing. Um, so um, uh, the Maine Indoor Air Quality Council itself, Heather's already alluded to this, was formed in 1998 because of a growing recognition that there are things indoors that can make us sick. And I think COVID also reinforced that. Things that we often can't see, smell, or taste. Um, Yet we know they're there because people do have health impacts from being exposed to them. The most common indoor pollutants found here in Maine include mold and moisture, radon, carbon monoxide, and other combustion pollutants. VOCs, particulate matter, pesticides, and believe it or not, people themselves, as well as their pets, can also be considered pollutants. So you're probably going to hear this one message a lot today throughout the session, but building science addresses several common issues: moisture management, moisture movement, air movement, and temperature movement in and around buildings. Failure to create building systems that properly manage what, oh, I should have told Maggie, if you want to advance the slide, I'm sorry. Yeah, thanks. Um, Failure to create building systems that properly manage the water, the air, and the temperature are likely going to lead to issues in the buildings that can impact the health and well-being of the building occupants. And so the four sort of examples that I'm going to show you that are listed a little bit later here are some of the common outcomes in building science that if building science isn't considered during the construction, renovation, or building process. So if you want to go to the next slide. So these are the four things that I just alluded to. When we fail to consider building indoor science, building science, the impacts on indoor air quality can include things like energy loss and comfort issues, mold and moisture damage, inadequate ventilation, and increased exposure to pollutants that make people sick. So that's the purview that the Maine Indoor Air Quality Council often discusses at all of its regular events, in our best practice tips, and in our advocacy efforts. Next slide. Um, I'm going to quickly walk you through some of the common regular types of trainings that we do. We do build better classes. We have done 1/2 day, 1 day, and multiple day options. We do offer a voluntary certification in residential construction. And building science really is the cornerstone of what the whole training is all about, because building practices are changing all the time. There are new codes, new building products, new construction techniques. What we hope to do is to expose residential construction professionals of all types. It's not just the builders, but it's the code officers and the architects and the home inspectors and the real estate agents. We want everybody to understand how um, how to address all of those changing issues and understand at the core how the science of the building um, can impact the health of the people in them and how to prevent those failures. And our goal always is to give people enough information so that when they're doing their next project, which is likely not like any other project they've done, that red flag might go off that, oh, I might need to consider how I'm building my wall sandwich, which is what I call it. It's the components that make up a wall and a roof. I might need to be thinking about how our air and water and temperature all going to move in and around that space so that I'm not going to end up with energy problems, comfort problems, moisture problems within the wall system, and overall building failures. So that's what we focus on. As part of Building Science Week next week, we're doing a half-day session in Freeport. It is live at the training space at Royal River Heat Pumps, and we are offering a virtual option as well. So if anybody's looking for just basic information around building science in residential construction, this is a great opportunity for you to do that. Next slide. So our big annual event is our Indoor Air Quality and Energy Conference. We focus a lot on that intersection between addressing energy efficiency and making sure that we're not compromising the indoor environment. Our next event is just coming right up. It's on December 9th. It's right at the Holiday Inn by the Bay in downtown Portland. We have over 18 sessions planned on focusing on everything from design, construction, operations, maintenance, investigation, remediation of buildings, as well as public health, energy efficiency, and more. So if you're looking for a deep dive into specific issues related to indoor air quality, energy efficiency, and building science, it's an excellent opportunity. And it is something that we do every year. Next slide. We recognize that achieving healthy indoor air quality is a two-part process. The first is what we call source and control, which is trying to keep the bad stuff out of buildings in the first place. But then the second piece is making sure that we have a way for pollutants to get out, and that really is the ventilation piece. It's the primary tool in an indoor air quality toolbox to reduce and remove indoor pollutants in an indoor space. So the other sort of interesting factor is there is a code change that has occurred in the past year that now makes it so that energy recovery ventilation, which is ERVs and HRVs, is required in Energy Zone 7, which is Aroostook County. So all new construction, residential construction now has to have energy recovery ventilation systems installed in them. When we make that next shift, which would be to the 2024 IECC, so in the next code upgrade, energy recovery ventilation is going to be required statewide in Maine's building code. So we're trying to do what we can to make sure there is an adequate workforce in place that understands how to do this critical ventilation component, which helps manage again, going back to that air and water and temperature components of building science. We offer a 3-day ventilation design and installation class. It has a very robust certification. We're training people to a Canadian standard that is now also part of Maine's building code as an alternative pathway to achieve the ventilation code. So that is another opportunity for people who want to learn more about that critical indoor air quality and building science piece. Next slide. We also offer all kinds of in-person, in addition to the in-person options, we do a lot of virtual and low-cost options, including our IEQ Club sessions, which are free for Maine Indoor Air Quality Council members and just $25 for non-members. What we do is it's like a book club. So we offer a video or an audio recording, so you get the benefit of the education, but then you also get with that an online discussion forum that goes along with it. And we have always had the original program presenter there to sort of answer questions and take feedback and sort of discuss the topic generally. So it's a great way to not only get a little bit of education, but get your answers, question, your questions answered as part of that discussion forum. It's turned out to be a very fun forum for people who participate. And we also do a variety of other types of things, either some free and some low cost webinar types of forums. And again, indoor air quality, building science, they're also inextricably linked. Then I strongly encourage, if people are looking to do building science and understanding it a little bit better, I would actually refer you to everybody's programming that's going to be here on the program today, but ours are certainly an option with that focus on the health of the people in that indoor space. Next slide, please. Coming very soon, we had really hoped that our Introduction to Building Science badge would be available by Building Science Week. We're doing it in partnership with the Maine Community College System. It will be a free online introductory course on the basics of building science. It will be interactive, and people who complete the course online successfully do receive a micro-credential that, when they sort of accumulate a bunch of these micro credentials, can then be transferred to actual college credits for people who are looking for that information. So that is in development right now. We're really excited to be able to make that available. It will be free, it will stay free, and we'll share the links to that for people who are interested in having it. It'll be on our website, and we hope it'll maybe live elsewhere as well for people to be able to access. Next slide, please. So the Maine Indoor Air Quality Council is here for more than just professionals. We really are the primary resource for members of the public who are seeking indoor air quality information and answers to indoor air quality problems in their homes, their schools, and their workplaces. And very often they're making very common complaints that are associated with issues that occur in a building that relate to building science concerns. We do maintain a resource-rich website too, with lots of tip sheets and best practice guidance documents. And I am on the phone constantly with members of the public, with professionals and others, trying to direct them to resources to help them address their information. So I know that Heather and Maggie are going to be sharing my contact information, so please don't hesitate to reach out to me when you have questions about indoor air quality and indoor air quality in construction concerns. Next slide, please. So all of that said, we do see training challenges out there. I know we're going to be talking about this a little bit later. The Maine Indoor Air Quality Council's particular challenges really relate to the fact that we're such a small organization that tries to do a lot of things, that we often have a hard time with some of our trainings being able to reach the right audience. And I don't think that we're alone in that challenge. We're working with groups that are doing such a great job in collaboration and communication, like passivhausMAINE, and like the work that all of the building science forums do. So we're really pleased to be part of that community. But we recognize that professionals are busy people, and we're often flooded with lots of information, both good and bad. And I do hope that as all of you continue on your building science journey, you will consider participating not just in what we're doing, but what all of our colleagues are trying to do too. Next slide. This is just my contact information. I know it's going to be shared with you later. We do have a mailing list, so if you're looking for information and want to receive our monthly newsletters and weekly event notices, we'd be happy to add you to that list. You can just go to any web page, and the sign-up sheet is right at the bottom of the page. And last slide, please. So I really just couldn't resist a super quick plug for our upcoming Indoor Insanity 5K. It's a really fun indoor race. It's good for walkers and runners. 100% of the funds that we raise from this event are used to pay for fixing radon problems in low-income Maine homes. So it's just a super fun event with a really great cause, and we're holding it this year in January at Colby College in Waterville. And if you haven't been in their spectacular new sports complex, it's really a great opportunity to be able to do that. So I apologize for the shameless promotion. But that's all I have, and I pass it back over to you, Heather.
Thank you so much, Christy. And I didn't know about the partnership with the community college system, so that's pretty cool and amazing that that's going to be available free for anybody who's interested. You touched on a little bit on the that you provide training for professionals and also you're the resource for anyone in the state who has questions. I'm curious, do you get any homeowners attending any of the trainings that you mentioned, or are they really primarily professionals that attend those?
We do get homeowners, particular homeowners who are in the pathway of either getting ready to build a house, in the process of building a house, or working to renovate a house. Those seem to be the touch points where people are really looking for that information, and they do reach out to us. And we often sometimes just connect them with our trainers to get specific questions answered, or we make sure that we provide them with a registration fee that really works for them. And that's one thing I would say to your audience. As much as we charge registration fees for a lot of our programs, and we do that because we're a nonprofit and we need to support the work that we do, which isn't just education, it's communications and advocacy for safe and healthy spaces statewide. I firmly believe personally that no registration fee should be a barrier to attendance. So anybody who wants to attend a program, I encourage you to just reach out to me if you're finding that registration fee to be a challenge.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Christy. There's a lot going on there, and I'm so happy to help share that news to anyone who is not familiar with all that you do. At this point, I want to turn it over to Emily to talk with us about the BS and Beer and Pretty Good House and all of the many, many resources that you provide.
Sure. And if you've never been to any of the Maine Indoor Air Quality Council, you should go. There's such great training. So it's fantastic what you're doing. On the flip side, what we do a lot is often free and not necessarily at a specific time, although some of them are. So I wanted to start with Pretty Good House, which actually bridges the gap between homeowners and professionals alike. Is part of the reason why we created or started the Pretty Good House was because we were trying to decide what was really critical and important in building science to build a pretty good house. Pretty good house is not the good enough house. You want to think of it as I did pretty good. I did the best that I could until it economically didn't make sense for me to do more. But unfortunately, what we hear a lot when we talk about building science is you use the word building science and that sounds scary, and then people resist that and do nothing, which I'd like to encourage people to understand that you are doing building science if you are building anything, whether you'd like to admit it or not. So, Pretty Good House is a little bit tongue in cheek, but essentially it is trying to bring building science to the market in a way that feels less scary and more approachable, specifically to homeowners. Next slide. So I'm going to throw this up here in the beginning so that people, if you use the QR code, you should be able to just get to me no matter what so that you have some follow-ups. But as part of that, I have continued to do lots of teaching, training, and education. And several of us, there are 4 authors to the Pretty Good House book, although it was crowdsourced at our local building science discussion group, which I'll get to in a minute. Have presented BS 101 or on the Pretty Good House at the home show that we've done with Heather. So make sure you catch one of us. Usually we do some kind of presentation there, but just an introduction, usually for people who are new to the industry that don't know what it means, or for homeowners who don't know what they should be asking for or looking for or paying attention to. So Pretty Good House has a website, so there's no barrier to introduction there. However, the book has significantly more information and goes more in depth on all of these concepts. And then what I want to talk about next, so next slide, is BS and Beer. So BS and Beer, like Pretty Good House, is kind of this other idea of bringing the fun to building, like this craftsmanship, what we're doing. So the image on the left is the book, the Pretty Good House book. The image on the right is the background that I usually put up on the show. Yes, how it started. So in 2000 and I don't know, 7, 8. Steve at Performance Building Supply started to get professionals in the industry together to start talking about some of these building science aspects. One, because the market was terrible. It was getting into the like 2009 era where we said being architects was gainfully unemployed, work was different, people weren't doing a lot of stuff. And so he got professionals in the industry together, one to start networking with each other, right? Let's start actually communicating with each other. I'll help you out. Maybe I have a job, maybe you have a job, but also talking about it. So we like to call Dan the godfather of Pretty Good House. He is one of the moderators. Him and Chris moderate the building science discussion group. For years, they did it once a month, taking the summers off. And we've talked about every building science topic under the sun, repeated several of them. That is where we crowdsourced the ideas of what we thought really stood for being a pretty good house here in Maine. What did that mean to us? Then there was Pretty Good House 2.0, where we started talking about carbon accounting and doing more environmentally conscious things about our carbon and upfront carbon that happens at the beginning of a project before, even though we talked about energy efficiency and affordability in our structures for a long time, we started thinking about what does that mean environmentally. So Dan just wanted to build a pretty good house, and that was where this started, but it really started a movement. So the Building Science Discussion Group invites other professionals to have a conversation. And if you've ever been to one of these events as a professional, you know that oftentimes it is loud. People talk over top of each other. You have notes on the board, which Dan is taking. Chris has done drawings on the board. But it's this really fabulous conversation between building professionals in the industry. It is a great place to learn. It is a low cost environment to ask questions when you don't know something. We have done things as simple as saying, what water control membrane should I use on the outside of the building, to deep dives into very specific topics. But what it led to was actually the creation of BS and Beer. So this building science discussion group was in Portland, which is fantastic if you are in Portland. If you are not in Portland, where a lot of the other professionals are, it can be hard to consistently go to Portland. So Mike Maine's one of the other authors of Pretty Good House, started BS and Beer Maine, and they met at Lake St. George Brewery, which is also not near anything. But it's not in Portland. However, they outgrew that space, started to have 12 to 15 people show up, and you would come and you would grab a beer and have a building science discussion there that's moderated by Mike. And then the pandemic hit. And in an effort to make sure that both of these groups were okay when it was kind of a crazy time for us, I, as an architect, practice with a lot of online video conferencing, and I had a Zoom account, and I said, let's hop on Zoom and just make sure everybody's okay. So the first week it was, let's just make sure that everybody's okay. The second week was, maybe this is an opportunity for us to share, you know, building science information with each other, have a discussion, talk about what people are doing with training while we're not working or on our job sites. And fortunately or unfortunately, some of our friends who are not in the state of Maine got word that we were meeting online after they had asked us for years and years to videotape in the studio here where the discussion group happens, which it's too loud. The acoustics are terrible. Everybody talks over each other. It's not a good environment to videotape. So they got word that we were meeting online on Zoom, and that started the BS and Beer show. And for 3 years, we met every Thursday at 6 p.m. for an hour and a half and talked about building science. We had still have, but had some of the world leaders in building science join us on this show. And it actually increased building science for us outside of the state of Maine. So it really encouraged other people to start paying attention to building science. We have recorded all of those. There are over 100 episodes. So if you want to dive into a building science topic, you can go to the YouTube channel, thebsandbeershow.com. Both of them will send you to that. As we started to get back together in person, we really wanted to encourage people across the US. We also have, I think, 5 groups in Canada and at least one in Australia, which is crazy to me. But to start meeting in person and doing what we did in our building science discussion group, to start talking about and networking with each other to push building science forward in their areas. I think now we're up to almost 40 groups who have some kind of established regular meeting for building science in their area. Some that are super successful, like our Denver chapter, which has started its own building science day where they do a whole day of building science training, to our Kansas City chapter where our friend Travis, who is on the show, and his business partner and his construction firm have actually taken the building science discussion group and turned that into a full 2-day training. So the building science symposium, and they first started in Kansas City, and now they usually do it in 6 locations across the US to increase people's building science knowledge. And it's about $150 for 2 days of training. So they try to keep it really affordable, really local, and small enough that you feel like you can approach any of the presenters to ask your specific building science questions. So we rope them in with beer and we keep them for the BS. Although even on the show, we often encourage people, you don't have to drink. Well, I don't drink oftentimes on the show. I have BS and bubbly, having, you know, a nice seltzer water with it. But the way that building science show has kind of translated into other areas and other groups is to bring more building science awareness to all parts of the country. They think that here in the Northeast, where you have obviously fantastic training access with Christy and some of our discussion groups, that we're just doing things better than everybody else. And we want to encourage them to also do better things in their area. So next slide. This was created, so these next 3 slides were created by Chris, who's another author of the Pretty Good House book. And this is how we have started to talk about building science in a way that's really easily digestible, like the food pyramid, health and safety, #1 thing, right? That's the baseline. Have to be doing that all the way up through to, if you have done enough, you can put in your helicopter pad. Next slide. This, however, is what most of our clients see, right? Only the pieces that are above the water here, which is fixtures, finishes, and the helicopter pad. But what they're asking for is all the things below hand, because we want to talk about comfort, we want to talk about durability, we want to talk about indoor air quality, and we're relying on our professionals to make sure all of the things in the iceberg are working correctly, right? So that's where we need to focus on building science. Next slide. Because this is what, no offense to the doom and gloom, but this is where we go when we don't pay attention to these things, right? These are our moisture problems, these are our air leakage problems, these are our bulk water problems, right? These are the avenues that we have to pay attention to. So next slide. So Pretty Good House, with the book and the website, we've tried to make this accessible so people can at least say, what are the key components that I need to be paying attention to, and what are their highlights? We wrote the book to go more in depth to that. Next slide. And then we started doing the BS and Beer Show. So the BS and Beer Show is now the first Thursday of every month, live on Zoom. And I encourage people to join us live if you can, because there are often people in the chat who are way smarter than me, who are answering even more in-depth questions. And you don't get that on the replay. So being there in the chat, we encourage everybody to introduce themselves so that other people know that they're there. And there are almost always a fire of questions happening in the chat box during the live shows, which are really great. So that's the first Thursday of every month. Mike Maines and I are also doing BSM Beer Mid-Coast Maine. So our next BSM Beer local in-person discussion group. And again, these are free. Just come and attend. If you want to get on the mailing list, let me know. It's going to be at American Flatbread on Wednesday, the 12th. So we missed Building Science Week by a week. Sorry about that. But there are so many other great events that are happening, but it is going to be the second Wednesday of every month throughout the Mid-Coast. We have been in Brunswick. We have been at American Flatbread. We have been up in Belfast. We're even going to do one, I believe it is in is in Damerscott. We're trying to hit how far out the mid-coast is spread out so that it makes it accessible for more people. And what we're doing is using the Pretty Good House framework to start talking about how people can approach these different things. So depending on who shows up, if it's a bunch of professionals, we debate ideas. It was really fun. We talked about control layers, the 4 control layers, water control, air control, vapor control, and thermal control at our last one. And it was a bunch of professionals. So we really took a deep dive down into all of those. But if we have homeowners that show up, we often will we'll talk about surface level, just the start, get into it. So please join us for that. And those are our 2 that are kind of local. And again, you can watch the replay of the show or join the mailing list, the bsandbeershow.com. You can join the mailing list so you at least know when the next events are coming up. I think that's my last slide.
Thank you so much. I am blown away by all that you and the others have accomplished. And thank you for telling a little bit about the history and mentioning the building science discussion group as well. Because really, I hear a lot about the national recognition of what's going on in Maine, and we definitely are seeing our built environment and the professionals in Maine are seen as having a higher level of expertise around these topics, and it's because of the work that has happened at the Building Science Discussion Group and the BS and Beer and the Pretty Good House book. And so I appreciate all that you've done, and it's been really exciting to hear that feedback. Including when we just did the judging for the new Green Home and Design Awards. The judges were from all over the country, and several of them remarked on the projects that we had here in Maine. They were kind of blown away at the caliber of the projects, and I think that has to do with the training that you are all providing. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And at this point, we'll turn it over to Erin to tell us a little bit about all that's going on at Passive House Maine, because you are doing a ton.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Those are some great slides, Emily, the Valley of Despair. I really enjoyed those. I do have just a quick note about my bio. I don't want to mislead anybody. I have background in 3-dimensional design and sustainable agriculture, not sustainable architecture. Just wanted to clarify that a little bit before I dive in. So I am the training director at Passive House Maine. As a nonprofit, we are focused on decarbonizing the built environment. So really in Maine, we just want to promote energy efficient building practices across the state. Next slide is fine. We have a team of 5 currently, but it's poised to grow in the next couple of weeks. We are actively seeking and hiring a new part-time training coordinator to work alongside of me to develop and maintain our current training programs. Next slide. Our approach is varied. Dori gave a little bit of background in what she does, which is far-reaching with our membership base and hosting and organizing our annual forum. She also works with partners and creates site walks and webinars. On the training side of things, that's my realm, which is what I'm here to talk about. We have a few training initiatives that had been ongoing before I started in January of this last year. But one of the new training initiatives that's particularly interesting for this conversation of professional development in building science is our pre-apprenticeship program. Before I started with Passive House Maine, I attended the forum, and workforce development was a big question, right? You know, we sat around a table and we asked, how do we generate excitement or enhance the workforce in the high performance building realm? You know, what can we do about it? And at that point, 2 years ago, that question largely went unanswered. When I came on to work with Passive House Maine in January, there was a third-party catalyst, Educate Maine, that had approached Passive House Maine to start a pre-apprenticeship program. So they had already been working with another high-performance builder, Maine Passive House, to establish their first apprenticeship program, and things have been going really well. So if you go to the next slide. Our pre-apprenticeship was meant to be a deep dive into all things high performance. We cover in depth the, what I call the control layers, or the 5 principles of high performance building. We've done this over a 6-month series, where the idea was to really reduce and break barriers to entry into this world. So our cohort, for 8 sessions, we meet essentially once a month in the evening, but we also offer that same session virtually a week or 2 later. We're also connecting our cohort with people who are currently working in the network with site visits. So we have 6 site visits that our cohort can come to, and we get them in front of contractors or builders and or businesses related to high performance building. And so it's really just kind of created this really nice just thing where they're excited and eager, and they're out there, they're talking to I'm so sorry. They're talking to people who are actively in the industry. If you go to the next slide, I can show you that we're actually having a lot of fun. This is our cohort. We meet virtually, and I'm excited to report that even in the virtual sessions, we are having fun and we're engaged in learning about all of this. On the bottom there, that's our cohort where we just recently got our hands on materials, and we're building a wall section in our new training facility. So again, the name of the game was to reduce barriers, create flexible learning spaces, have our cohorts of participants have real world experiences. And also our cohort knew the entire 6-month schedule in advance so that they could plan ahead. Educate Maine has provided not only kind of the framework and connections, but they've also offered supportive services to our pre-apprentices. So this is a no-cost program where the pre-apprentices actually have access to a $1,200 stipend where they can use to purchase tools or materials or anything really that relates or would enhance their experience or facilitate their ability to partake in our program. Next slide. So this is kind of what our day could look like. If you join us in person, it could look a lot like a building science meetup where we're sitting and reviewing slides of current builds or going over one of the control layers. We are often joined by non-traditional mentors who are already out in the field. We're typically bringing in apprentices, so kind of that next level from pre-apprentice to an apprentice, to come in and chat about their experience. How did they get into the workforce? What inspired them? What do they wish they had done differently? On the right, that's us at a active Maine passive house job site. These job site visits have become this really unique opportunity for our cohort to mix with the crew who are actively building and working on the structures or houses. It's a way for them to gain real insight into what the day-to-day life could be like